You are Locked On Warriors Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And tonight, the Golden State Warriors continue to hover around 500 after yet another home loss, this time at the hands of LeBron James and the Lakers. 118-108 is your final score. And tonight it was the Anthony Davis show, man. This guy gave the Dubs more than they could handle in the paint. He dropped 36 points in from the field. And he just lived at the free throw line all night long. Could not stop the Lakers big man from getting to the charity stripe as he shot 12 of the Lakers' 17 free throws. Meanwhile, Steph was non-superhuman. And as Dubs fans know, he needs to be superhuman every single night in order for the Warriors to win. But if you're looking for bright spots, Pods continued to look better coming back from injury. And Quinton Post continued to show you a little something yet again. But still, a loss at the hands of LeBron and the Lakers, not what you want. We'll break it all down, but first I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. If you aren't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors daily show for more in-depth coverage. Charlie Walter does a great job. And today's show is sponsored by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And tonight, the Warriors, it was entering that fourth quarter. It was relatively close throughout the majority of this game. Both teams kind of, traded the lead back and forth early on, and then the Lakers kind of started to pull away in that second quarter, but they kept the lead within six. Neither team led by more than 6 points entering halftime. And it was really a back and forth game. It felt like a bunch of momentum swings in that second quarter. But after halftime, it was all Lakers, man. And this is now becoming like a concerning trend for the Warriors. It is second halves. They just look terrible, man. And the Lakers, they just continued to eat the Warriors alive on the interior. In that fourth quarter, they did kind of start to get something going. The Warriors did at the end of the third there, shrinking that Lakers lead back down to 6 to enter that fourth quarter. But the Warriors, as we know this year, are 1-17 when trailing, entering the fourth quarter. And with the Lakers' size, with the way that the Warriors were going to need to put down the clamps defensively, and they just couldn't do it. The Lakers were able to dictate the tempo of this game. They were able to do whatever they wanted, really. And defensively, the Warriors had no response on the interior. And this is, how many times do we need to live out this nightmare in order to realize that the Warriors need some damn size? It was nice in their last game against the Bulls, watching Quinton Post go down there and do some work in the paint. He was obviously, picking and popping a lot too, hit those 5 3-pointers. But it was nice seeing an actual legitimate 7-footer holding down the interior and playing some defense for the Warriors. You just don't have anybody on this team that can match up with like an Anthony Davis. And really, the Lakers have a ton of size on this team. Jared Vanderbilt, also a lot of size. Jackson Hayes, also a lot of size. LeBron is not a small dude either. So, you got a lot of guys on this team. Dorian Finney-Smith got some length to him. And they're just a lanky, long team, something that the Warriors are absolutely not. And they struggle mightily with teams like this. And again, yet another game. The final score was 118-108. But in that fourth quarter, man, it really felt like the Lakers just took over and pulled away in this one. It ended up only being a 10-point loss. But that fourth quarter, even though the Warriors only were beat by 4 points in that quarter, the Lakers scored 29 and the Warriors scored 25. It did not feel that close at all. The Lakers had all the momentum in this one. The Warriors, every time that they started to snatch it back a little bit, the Lakers would just get an easy bucket inside and just kind of put a stop to whatever Warriors comeback was starting to brew. So, and this is a story we've seen before. The Warriors have a really hard time dictating how the ends of games go. And they have a hard time dictating tempo in general throughout all of their games. Doesn't matter what quarter or what time in the game is left. They have a hard time dictating tempo. But when it is crunch time and you have to have like a bread and butter thing that you go to, the Warriors don't have that offensively. I mean, your bread and butter used to be the three ball. I mean, now it's just, this is a small team that can't shoot. And I don't know how many different ways we got to talk about how this team is too small and can't shoot, but it is getting tiresome, man. I'm getting so tired of coming on here every single night and talking about how this team, one, has no size and no ability to defend a guy like Anthony Davis or anyone of the sort, LeBron James, even a Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, the Warriors cannot match up with these guys. But they used to be able to kind of make up for that with the three ball. You know what I mean? Like, they'd give up some stuff on the interior, but you'd make up for it with the extra points from beyond the arc. And that's just not there anymore. This team is so bad at three-point shooting. I mean, tonight you were better, I guess, from three-point range, 34.8% than you have been in recent weeks. But I mean, it's just not good enough. Like, better than terrible is still pretty bad. And that's where the Warriors shooting is at right now. You let the Lakers shoot 54% from the field. I mean, everybody on this Lakers team was really able to, get good shots and make them. And the Warriors, the exact opposite, not able to get very many good shots in this game. The offense looked out of sorts, just as the defense did. The second quarter, I liked what the Warriors were doing. I mean, they were getting downhill and starting the attack at the rim from beyond the three-point arc. And what I mean by that is they were getting the legs moving and running at bigs in the paint and trying to, like, take the game to them instead of, letting the defense dictate the game. The Warriors tried there in that second quarter to kind of impose some will on the interior. And I mean, they put up 32 points in that quarter, their highest scoring output of any quarter tonight. I honestly, I've been really hypercritical of Dennis Schroeder this season with the Warriors, and I think for good reason. But tonight, I actually liked what I saw from him, especially in that second quarter. He had like 3 or 4 plays where he was really getting downhill and using that left hand to get to the hole and made a few layups. He missed one as well, but I like the strategy, right? Like, Schroeder has not been able to shoot, I mean, at all since he got to Golden State. He was having a career year shooting in Brooklyn and then got onto the West Coast, and just apparently he does not think West Coast best coast, apparently, for Dennis Schroeder, but he would be wrong in that sentiment. But regardless, 4 for 6 tonight is not bad. I mean, he had a plus minus of -1. He had 10 points. It's nothing to write home about, but it's better than what we've seen from Schroeder. At this point with him, I just feel like you kind of gotta try and reload, man. Like, Schroeder, he's not going to really move the needle for this team. Maybe some other team thinks that he might be able to move the needle for them before the trade deadline, and you can recoup some of what you gave up to get him earlier this year. And the Warriors just need to start building for next year at this point, because, I mean, every time that this team wins a game, and I mean, I think people forget that this team is a 500 team. And yeah, 500 teams are still going to win, 40-something games, 40-ish games in an NBA season. I don't like what the Warriors are doing down the stretch here and in crunch time and when all the chips are down. And I don't expect them to play better as the season becomes more pressure packed. They've shown us all season long that they don't do well in pressure packed situations. And I think that you got to just, I mean, at a certain point, I mean, you fight for that 10/9 spot, I guess, in the play-in tournament, but I think that you got to start building towards the future. And I'm not saying, get rid of Steph and get rid of Draymond. As long as those guys want to stay in a Golden State Warriors uniform, you let them. But you start moving on from some of these other guys. Like Dennis Schroeder, he can go and you can get something back for him. I'd be also curious to see maybe if you sold off Buddy, maybe someone would give you something back for that. Maybe if you package the two together, someone would maybe give you something just because the potential is there for some potent offense between those two players. But the point remains, the Warriors got to do something to make this team better next season. And they don't have a lot of wiggle room as currently constructed. I mean, they're going to need to figure something out with their cap space next year in order to sign anybody. So the Warriors really got to do something here to shake things up. And I think it means you got to trade some guys. Like, if you don't have money to go out and sign dudes, then you got to figure out how to get guys in here in another way. And that could be via trade. And I think everybody, honestly, every single player on this roster, except for Stephen Curry and really Jonathan Kuminga, everyone else, I mean, and even if you get something good enough back for Kuminga, you should listen to it. Steph Curry should be the only non-tradable player on this team. If a team, the Lakers, for instance, want to offer you a haul for Draymond, I think you do it at this point, man. And I mean, who knows if anybody would offer, what Draymond is worth to the Warriors, because I don't think Draymond is going to be worth to another team what he is to the Warriors. His value is so closely tied with Steph Curry. I mean, he is not the same player if he doesn't have 30 out there on the court. Obviously, he's still going to be a menace on the defensive end of the floor, and just an absolute savant with his defensive positioning and being like, the brain trust out there for the defensive end of the floor on the court. It's like having a head coach out there on the court with Draymond Green. But without Steph, this guy's offense, his value on offense is in the basement. It's like almost, I think it's negative, not even positive, like not even minimally positive. I mean, he's a good passer, but away from Steph, his screen game maybe doesn't work as well. He's obviously his struggles shooting the ball have been well documented, although he has been better this year than he has been in recent years. But I don't think that you end up getting a haul back for him. But either way, you got to do something to shake this team up, because this team is so painfully average. But I feel like when they win, people forget that this is a 500 team and they want to like push all the chips in and say, oh, the Warriors can go on a run and da-da-da. But they can't, man. Like they have not shown you at all this season, save for the first 15 games of this NBA season in November and December, which last I checked, those games mean next to nothing in an NBA season. I mean, they haven't had like a real winning stretch since then. And even then, the Warriors have been pretty largely unable to string together winning streaks this season. So I mean, you're gonna need to do that at some point in the second half of the season. And if they didn't do it at all in the first half, and this team's construction hasn't changed, and they've just gotten worse due to injury, I don't know how they do that in the second half. So ultimately, overall, I think the Golden State Warriors are going to need to find another option, to find another way forward, because what you got right now isn't working. And yes, you do have Jonathan Kuminga waiting in the wings to come back from injury. Hopefully that will be soon for the Warriors. But man, I mean, there's nothing reliable about this team. There's nothing consistent about this team. The defense sometimes is there, but again, the glaring hole is that they don't have a big man. I mean, TJD got basically run off the floor. Kevon Looney and TJD played a combined total of 24 minutes tonight. Like the Warriors just don't have a response for any of these guys on the interior, shockingly enough. Quinton Post played 23 minutes, more than or about the same as Kevon Looney and Trace Jackson Davis combined, just one less minute than the two of those guys combined. So that has been a really big change for the Warriors. And let's talk about that next, man, because I did, again, like what I saw from Quinton Post out there, his physicality, the way his movement out there. There's a lot of things I want to break down about Quinton Post. And maybe we can discuss some of the irony around, the Warriors needing size and shooting. And this guy might be able to provide both. A second-round pick from Boston College. Could you imagine? So stick with us here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. We got lots more to break down today coming up next. Today's show is sponsored by FanDuel, and from the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's $300 to keep the action going and keep that fun going too. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, plus the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Tonight, the Lakers. It was only a 118-108 win, only a 10-point win, but it really felt like more than that tonight, honestly. Like the Lakers just had complete control of this game in that fourth quarter, and they won going away. I mean, they entered the fourth with that 6-point lead, but the size was just too much for the Warriors to handle on the interior. And they kind of, they're in that same vein, in that same discussion. The Warriors kind of gave you a little something the last couple of days. Quinton Post has kind of been a little bit of I'm not going to say a revelation, but after his, 5 3-pointers in that Bulls win. And then tonight he had 23 solid minutes. He plays almost as many minutes as Looney and TJD combined. He gives you 8 points. He was one of the only Warriors with a positive plus minus at the end of the night. He had a +2. And you know, I liked what I saw from him. Like, you look at the box score, it looks kind of average, but there's more to his game than just what's showing up in the box score. And what he gave you inside, like just being a presence on the interior. No, he did not stop Anthony Davis. It's a lot to ask a second round guy who's playing in like his third NBA game to go and take down, an MVP caliber player. I mean, that's completely unrealistic, but it is good to see someone who can at least hold their own on the interior against these bigger guys in the West. And I mean, every single good team in the Western Conference has size. Maybe maybe you want to say that's correlation doesn't, prove causation kind of thing. But in this case, I think it's very clear that, size equates to more wins in the NBA. It is not that difficult. Obviously, you can't just have a bunch of super tall dudes with no skill, but Quinton Post, a tall dude with some skills, man. Like, this guy, I like the way he moves without the ball. I like the way that he plays defense. I really didn't expect him to be this physical. Like, you see a 7+ foot tall European who likes to shoot the 3 ball. You're not thinking that this guy's going to go bang on the interior. You know what I mean? You're not thinking that this guy's got some nastiness to his game. But I mean, Quinton Post, I mean, he said he, grew up watching Dirk, and the 2011 championship the Mavs won was kind of like, what got him into basketball. And he was, enthralled by Dirk Nowitzki as a kid out in the Netherlands. But tonight, I mean, Dirk wasn't just like a pushover on the interior. So, and Quinton Post kind of showed you he was doing his little best Dirk impression tonight and yesterday. And so I do like what we're seeing from this guy, and also the passing ability of a Quinton Post. Dude had 3 assists tonight. He also had some assists in that Bulls game, and we talked about that too. The vision of a Quinton Post, kind of directing traffic and calling for the ball, knowing that he's going to get a backdoor baseline cut. In the moment that he catches the ball, he's looking to dump that ball off, and he's displayed more of that tonight. Like, he is very, very, very good at discernment, at making decisions with the ball in his hand. I don't expect that this is a guy who's going to commit like a ton of turnovers in his NBA career, although tonight he did have 2 of them. But I don't think he's going to be a guy who has multiple turnovers in these games. He also has active hands on defense, man. He had a steal tonight. He's getting in passing lanes. Like, this guy has been very, very, very solid for the Warriors since he got the opportunity to actually get some run. And I want to see more minutes for Quinton Post. The Warriors need size and shooting. Why not just give this guy some run? And like you kind of heard after the Bulls game, Quinton Post, was asked, why do you think your minutes got such an uptick in this game? And well, I mean, 1, he was making the shots. You're not going to take out the hot hand, but 2, I mean, you need size and shooting, and he provides both. And you need a lot more size and a lot more shooting than just one guy who can give you both of those things, unfortunately for the Warriors. But it's a start. And maybe this is a piece that, can show the Warriors, like, hey, maybe if we got another guy like this who's a proven commodity in the NBA, maybe, just maybe, we might be able to pair them with Steph and play a version of pick and roll that we haven't really seen this Warriors team do before with a big that can shoot. Man, that would be crazy. And I mean, we've been tantalized with this thought with all offseason talking about Lauri Markkanen and maybe he was going to come to the Warriors. And as every passing moment goes by, it just feels so bad that the Warriors didn't make that trade. Although I do have to say Markkanen has been dealing with back issues pretty much all season with Utah, so who knows how healthy he would have been this year with the Warriors if they did, in fact, pull the trigger on that trade. Could have just been another warm body in the infirmary ward for the Warriors. They've been filling that infirmary ward up lately. You're still waiting for Draymond Green to come back. You're still waiting for Jonathan Kuminga to come back. And right now, with the roster in its current state, with missing those guys, plus a lot of other guys just underperforming, Steph needs to be superhuman in order for the Warriors to win. We got to talk about that next here on the Locked On Warriors postcast, because Steph absolutely was not superhuman tonight. And it's just too much pressure to put on one guy, even if it is Stephen Curry. We'll talk about that next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by TALKSPACE. Therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, and communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge. That's where TalkSpace comes in. TalkSpace is the leading virtual therapy provider. It makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With TalkSpace, signing up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within just 48 hours, and it's convenient. You can have sessions from the comfort of your home and even message your therapist between appointments. Plus, TalkSpace is covered by many insurance plans, and for most insured members, there's a $0 copay. It's never been easier to prioritize your mental health. As a listener of this podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with TalkSpace when you go to TalkSpace.com/LockedOnNBA and enter promo code SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to TalkSpace.com/LockedOnNBA and enter promo code SPACE80, SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's TalkSpace.com/LockedOnNBA, promo code SPACE80. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Tonight, the Warriors just got bullied by the Lakers. 118 to 108, and it felt more than that 10-point loss. It felt like the Lakers had total control of this game. This Warriors team cannot, string any momentum together from one game to another, and they have a really hard time dictating how games go because they don't have size and they don't have shooting. So what do you have? Well, you still got Steph Curry. You still got 30 on the roster. But I'm going to tell you right now, that's just not enough. Steph by himself is still, remarkable. One of the greatest shows on an NBA court. One of the most exciting players to ever grace the hardwood. But, you look at what he was doing tonight and what he's been doing really all season long. He has had to put, the whole team on his back and just carry them to victory. And he has not been able to do that some nights. This guy is 36 years old. He's been dealing with nagging injuries all season long. And tonight, just 4 of 17 from the field and just 2 of 9 from three-point land. He did have 9 assists, but ultimately, that combined with the 3 turnovers and a minus 17 plus minus, so it was a bad night for Steph. He only had 13 points on 17 shots, man. Like that, how often do you see Steph taking more shots than he has points? That's very, very, very rare in his career that happens. But it's been happening more and more this season. But over the span of his career, something that rarely would occur. But and that's completely indicative of the type of defense that is being played on Stephen Curry. Teams every single night are just throwing double, triple teams at him every single time that he gets in within shooting range. They're completely denying him the ball, and they're daring other Warriors to beat them. But when you're shooting 34% as a team from three-point land, when Buddy Hield, who's supposed to be like the other shooter in this lineup, is only 2 of 8 from three-point land, when Andrew Wiggins is only 1 of 6, it's a problem. This team just does not have the roster construction around Steph to allow him to succeed and play his best basketball. You have to give the shooter some space to operate, and Steph has no space in this lineup. There's no spacing on the floor. There's no, the ball move. I'm not going to say there's no ball movement, but the ball movement is substantially, it's inferior compared to what we're used to with this Warriors team. And of course, I wasn't expecting it to remain the same as it was with Klay and Draymond when Draymond was healthy and when Klay was still with the Dubs, because those three, you can't replace that level of chemistry that those three had developed. Obviously, you've all seen the highlight package that floats around on social media of Steph doing the behind the back passes to trailing Klay Thompson, hitting the threes, and then kind of flashing forward to this season and him trying to do those behind the back passes, and there's just nobody home. And that's very, that just tells you the story of the Warriors season really in a microcosm, because without Klay, without another guy that knows how to play with Steph, or without a guy that can actually shoot the ball, even would just take that. The Warriors cannot get Steph open, because if you're not afraid of Andrew Wiggins, you're not afraid of Buddy Hield, you're not afraid of leaving GP2 open from 3, you're not afraid of leaving Brandon Podziemski or Moses Moody open from 3. Brandon Podziemski, we got to say, did have a very nice night tonight, 6 of 10, 3 of 6 from three-point land, 17 points, led the Warriors with a +9 plus minus, and he has shown you something since he's come back from injury. I do think Pods is getting healthier, and he should probably get some more minutes. Maybe Pods back in the starting lineup. would be helpful. I know I certainly don't want to see Buddy Hield in the starting lineup anymore. I am so tired of this Buddy Hield experiment. He was supposed to be the guy to give Steph that extra space to shoot and to operate on the perimeter. And I feel I'm smiling if you're watching on the video version of the show, because I feel so stupid that I was able to actually talk myself into the Buddy Hield, the Buddy Hield trap. Like earlier in the season, first 10, 15 games, however many games it was, he was on fire, man. And it was the splash stepbrother, the splash cousin. Buddy Buckets is going to be Steph's new running mate, and this is going to be a match made in heaven, and this is just going to be a seamless fit. And then, like every other Buddy Hield stop in his career, after that incredible stretch of like 10 to 15 games where he just got red hot and looked like he could not be stopped, he reverted to the Buddy Hield that we all know and love. The Buddy Hield that, ran his way out of Sacramento, ran his way out of Indiana, ran his way out of Philadelphia, and, is going to end up running his way out of the Golden State Warriors. I mean, just shooting teams out of games, something the Buddy has done all of his career. I mean, just constantly bricking shots in huge moments, taking rushed shots and that you don't need to put up early in the shot clock. And I'm so tired of seeing Buddy Hield in this starting lineup. I would much rather see, honestly, anybody. Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski, Dennis Schroeder, even Quinton Post. Give Posty that starting spot, and maybe we can, pretend to be a real team for once and put, the under 6'10" TJD at power forward and the 7-footer at center in Quinton Post. I would kind of like to see that, man. I want to see what the Warriors look like with those. With the two big guys on the interior. Maybe it changes this team up. What do you got to lose at this point? I mean, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And I have seen Buddy Hield in the starting lineup way too many times to know that this does not work. And back to Steph, man, like with those bigs, I think that could help the spacing, could help Steph find some more space to operate, because you're going to have to pack the paint if you got both of those big bodies in there. I don't know, man. It's just a thought, something to try. And when you get Draymond back, maybe you run Quinton Post, Draymond, and TJD, and you do something completely unheard of in the last 10 years, and you let Draymond Green play the 3. Oh, man, that would just be insane. But in order to do that, got to have scoring from somewhere. So you still need to figure out how this team is going to score the basketball when Steph only has 13 points on 4 of 17 shooting. It's just not enough. And Jonathan Kuminga, when he comes back, he's a big lift. Don't get me wrong, but it's not enough to lift Steph up to where he should be. We don't have too many more years of Steph Curry's brilliance. Thank God he was named to the All-Star team. It was, especially since the All-Star game is at Chase Center, like it would have been an absolute travesty to see Steph not out there in a starting lineup for the All-Star game with it being here in San Francisco at Chase Center. I'm just glad that we're going to see him there. At least he gets to, be appreciated on that level, because, man, feels like the Warriors aren't appreciating what Steph has done for them in his career. And I know that's what it seems like from the outside, and internally, I'm sure that Steve Kerr and all the front office people feel different than I'm feeling that they feel. We're talking a lot about feelings here on the postcast, but ultimately, you're wasting this last little, gasp of brilliance from Steph by not pairing another shooter with him. And you need to remake this roster right now in order to set yourself up for next season. Because this year, even if you make, what's the best case scenario? What is the argument against blowing this roster up? And I don't mean trading Steph. I don't mean trading Draymond necessarily or trading Kuminga necessarily. You probably hold on to those 3 guys. Anybody else should be able to be traded. And Draymond and Kuminga should be able to be traded if there is an offer good enough for them. Steph should be the only untouchable guy. And you need to rework this roster right now, because you don't have a ton of cap space in the offseason to go out and hunt for free agents. You need to start moving things around now so that you can have more cap space. Maybe you can go get a player on an expiring contract, kind of like as a rental to clear up some cap space, or a guy that you could maybe re-sign to come back to the Warriors, kind of give him let him play alongside Steph and see how much that guy wants to stay here next season. All of these things could be options for the Warriors, and they should explore every single one of them, because you can't have more nights like this. Like, you can't just have nights where you go out there and Steph isn't amazing, so you just kind of roll over and die and say, Oh, well, not our night. That's pretty weak, man. That's pretty pathetic. And that's the reason why this team is going to end up being 500 or below. And probably, honestly, I don't think this team's making even the play-in tournament at this point. I just don't. I don't see, when I'm looking at the teams ahead of them in the Western Conference, I don't see who they're going to pass. I see the Spurs getting better. I see Wemby getting better. I see the Suns figuring it out before the Warriors figure it out, just because you look at those two rosters and you tell me which one's got more talent. I don't need to tell you. So the Warriors are not in a good spot. And this year, even if you do make the play-in tournament, you going to get out of it? You're going to make the actual playoffs? Like, no, you're not. So the Warriors should blow this roster up as much as you can. I'm not saying trade Steph. I got to make that explicitly clear. But you got to figure out how to make this roster more competitive for next season. And you got to start that process right now, or you're going to be behind the 8 ball on it. And you're going to go into the offseason kind of scrambling to figure out how to create cap room. Pieces are going to fall that you could have otherwise been in on. And then we're going to be right back here next year. And we're going to have 3 seasons in a row of 500 Golden State Warriors basketball, or worse. 118-108 is your final score tonight. The Warriors just get beat up on the interior. Anthony Davis with 36 points. He just lived at the foul line tonight. 12 free throws. And the Warriors had no answer at all. Steph, non-superhuman, and they're just the quintessential 500 team right now. Like, they are as mid comes. We'll see what happens in their next matchup. The Warriors take on the Jazz in a couple days. So, I mean, you get a little bit of an easier go of it on Tuesday versus the Utah Jazz at home. That game's also at Chase Center. You got to win that one. You got to try and stay above 500 until Kuminga gets back to at least give yourself, some kind of puncher's chance, especially if you're not going to trade pieces and try and improve this roster before the end of the season. So tomorrow, or Tuesday, their next game against the Jazz, kind of an important one. And we can all watch Lauri Markkanen as he's recently returned from injury. We can all watch him run around for the Jazz and think what could have been if they actually put him on the Warriors this last offseason, and if they were willing to pull the trigger on that trade and get Brandon Podziemski out of here and bring in Lauri Markkanen. But we'll always just wonder. We'll always have to sit here and just speculate on that. That's all the time that we got for you guys today here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Make sure that you check out the Locked On Warriors daily show. And thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all the everydayers. I saw my guy Daniel in the chat earlier. Daniel is one of our best everydayers. He always responds to my yo at the beginning of the show, which I very much appreciate. So shout out Daniel and all of our other everydayers and everyone tuning in to the Locked On Warriors postcast. Make sure you're following the channel and subscribed. Turn those notifications on. All of the fun stuff. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.